Hey everyone, welcome back to Jurassic World Evolution. Today we are concluding our tour of the rebuilt Five Deaths, Las Cinco Muertes on Isla Sorna. Just keep in mind this is before the return to Jurassic Park DLC expansion, so I don't have any of the restrooms or any of those new features just yet, which is kind of a bit interesting because now I might have to go back and restructure some things to make sure that I actually have room for the restrooms on my islands, but let's not worry about that for now. Like I've been doing before, we're gonna go over a little tour of the island, and I've made sure to include every dinosaur that you unlock from Isla Sorna on the story mode. Plus a little bonus, I had a nice area open for one more exhibit, and we'll showcase the 4 new Raptor Squad skins as well. I had room for them, so let's address this really quick. What's at low health? Oh, okay. I think it's fine now. Well, alright, so anyway, let's start at the entrance. Just like with Isla Tucano, I wanted the Spinosaurus, or the main big carnivore that you unlock, to be front and center. So you get off here, we've got 2 hotels. And if you make your way straight over to here, we have a gyrosphere attraction that goes through the Spinosaurus exhibit. And I just stuck with the default Spinosaurus, kind of pay homage to the one that greets you when you start your playthrough of this island is also the default Spino. Believe it or not, I'm actually... wetland requirement is pretty substantial, and this exhibit's just barely big enough for our Spinosaurus. But you may have caught a glimpse, I also have a kind of goofy little exhibit for our Sauropeltas. Why is this one so low? That's a little funky. There's only 2 of them because they're very antisocial, and I have the feeder over here, and then they kind of have to make their way over to the water source, which is over here. I haven't had any low health warnings pop up for them, so I think they're fine, and the guests get good visibility out of the hotels for these guys. And I haven't had any problems with them escaping. As you can see, I don't have a fence for the back end of the enclosure. But yeah, I think I've got this one's on its way over for water. Once it senses the water, I think it starts running, and then we won't have a problem, but this was the second dinosaur I put in. Spinosaurus was first. Let's see how old it is. 69, expected lifespan 86. But I haven't had any low health warnings with these guys, so I'm sure they'll be fine. But anyway, yeah, let's kind of sneak back here. We've got all of our facilities over here, as well as 2 hatcheries, and then our security buildings with the ranger station. I've chosen the green Jeep skins. I think those are like for pre-ordering on Xbox, just because it's about as close as we can get for now anyway to matching the green Mercedes Jeeps that they drive around in the Lost World. And I did the same for the helicopter. I gave it the green look as well. I always thought the vehicles in the Lost World were really cool looking. So that basically sums up our first area of the island. Here's an aerial overview. And then let's follow the monorail over to the next section. We got our power stations kind of tucked away in the back, and we'll make landfall over here. We've got 2 hotels and some guest buildings, and let's just start with these two over here. First, we have a relatively small Pentaceratops enclosure. This is the only ceratopsid on the island, and I think I've got 4 of them in here. They're pretty picky with their social requirements, and I also didn't really have many other dinosaurs that would have fit with them, I guess, in terms of like trying to keep the environments or the exhibits paleologically correct. I think I said that right. Anyway, there's 4 of them. They got a feeder up at the front for the guests to see, and they have some privacy here in the back with their little lake. Their exhibit's not too big, but there's only 4 of them. Next door is our next carnivore. I've used some of the Dr. Wu genes on this island to help make the social factors a little different. We have Majungasaurus. We have 3 of them. Pretty neat dinosaur in this game. I don't use it in challenge mode ever, except for I think I used it once. But it's a very expensive dinosaur compared to other options like Metriacanthosaurus and Ceratosaurus. It typically only tolerates 2 friends or 2 buddies, but I modified them so they can have 3. I particularly like this rainforest pattern on this one. And they have a pretty neat little exhibit. I've got 2 feeders up here for the guests to see. And then I've got their lake tucked in the corner back here, but the guests can get a good view of them from this tower. So pretty good habitat coverage for Majungasaurus. Alright, then we're gonna make our way over here, and we've got a big Jurassic tour ride. This is the exhibit that kind of gave me a little bit of inspiration for the waterfall speed build that I did. The terrain just kind of naturally worked out this way, so let's just follow the path real quick. This is a Jurassic Asia enclosure mixed next with Oranosaurus and Muttaburrasaurus. I thought they would be 2 neat ones to put together. So we got a feeder here. There's our first Oranosaurus. And so this is basically the waterfall exhibit all over again, just with different dinosaurs. And obviously it's a different island. So our truck goes around the perimeter. There's the top of our waterfall. And that's a pretty neat view right here. You can actually see the Mamenchisauruses down there. We'll get there in a minute. And we've got a ton of Muttaburrasaurus with some of the more colorful patterns here. The truck ride goes down into a little crevice as well. It goes all the way down here. I had a feeder placed down here, but occasionally the dinosaurs would get stressed because it's so far away from the other ones that their social needs would tank. So I actually got rid of the feeder down here. And then we're going to head into our Jurassic Asia exhibit, which has Gigantspinosaurus and Mamenchisaurus. Gigantspinosaurus actually has some pretty neat skins. I just don't use this little guy that much. We have a storm coming in. Let's see, I did have a tornado not too long ago, which can happen on this island. We are in campaign mode after all. But so hopefully we won't get another tornado. But anyway, as you can see, here is our waterfall. I toyed around with, I actually had a fence that kind of jutted out and came over here, but it looked pretty ugly. But the reason I did that was when I first built the enclosure, the Mamenchisauruses would walk up and down this a lot, and it just looked really silly. Like, it just looked very out of place to see this very tall vertical dinosaur on this steep hillside. Alright, I haven't heard any thunder. Oh, never mind. Wow, that was delayed. Where is our twister? Okay. There's only 2 dinosaurs on this island that might actually try to break out, depending on the length of the twister. And we haven't met either of them yet. The Spinosaurus is actually pretty easy to maintain. Its comfort threshold is set at 70 to start with. Okay, I probably cut there. I thought this would be a great opportunity for a screenshot for the title card, so let's get back into this. There we go. Well, for the time being, the twister isn't a threat just yet, so might as well enjoy this this picture right here. Thankfully it started way off to the side, but I think it's going to hit our Polacanthus exhibit. Delete that prematurely. Okay, I think that's okay. It's gonna take out our weather station. Alright, overall a very, not that bad of a tornado. Let me just make sure I didn't get rid of their habitat too much. Wow, that was a weird noise. I haven't heard that before. It says we have a dinosaur threat. Did something break out? Oh, we did have a breakout. Well, this will be exciting. We haven't even met our Indoraptor yet, but and we can hear our Velociraptors trying to escape, even though I genetically tuned their stress factors, but hopefully that means they're not going to try and actually get out, though. Well, we'll make our way over here in a minute. Let's make sure we've got everything fixed over here first. Well, that was pretty fun. Good test of management for the final episode. These are our other dinosaurs that may have broken out, but they seem to be fine. We've got a pair of Allosaurus over there. And this is Volt, our Indoraptor, that is still not tranquilized. And let's see, is there any other damage? No, we're fine. So once she gets, or I guess the Indoraptor in the movie is a he, so this might be the only he dinosaur we can even talk about. Once you get tranquilized, we'll put you back and get resumed with the tour. If our helicopter could please land a hit. There we go. Thank you. Alright, let's reopen the park. No other problems. Okay, so anyway, as you can see, like I mentioned earlier, our Sauropeltas are back at 100% health, so no problems there. Alright, that was, I hope y'all enjoyed the timing of that. But anyway, we were trying to check out our waterfall exhibit, the Jurassic Asia portion specifically. And we've got plenty of Gigant Spinosaurus and about 3 or 4 Mamenchisaurus in here. They've actually tried to break out a couple times because they like to get in the corner of the exhibit that doesn't have quite the tree coverage that they like, and then they get stressed, but I think we've fixed that for now. They haven't had any breakouts recently. And as you can see, they have a lot of room over here, and between the truck and the hotel, we got pretty solid visibility going here as well. It was nice to finally... Gigant Spinosaurus and Mamenchisaurus are 2 of the dinosaurs that I didn't get to use much in challenge mode because you don't unlock them until later, and you already have Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus, Chunkingosaurus, and Huangosaurus, so you just don't really need them by that point, so it was nice to make an exhibit just for the 2 of them. Alright, so moving on, I really wanted to kind of have the I wasn't planning on doing a Velociraptor exhibit. What I originally planned on was putting a gyrosphere ride that you would enter, and then it would drive you over to the Indoraptor enclosure, and I just thought that the Velociraptor exhibit with the 4 raptors would be perfect as a junction between the 2, but as you can see, the gyrospheres don't actually go into the enclosures. I'm relying on the cone or the circle of visibility that they provide to get my visibility, so it's kind of like the original Jurassic Park 1 ride, where you don't actually go in the enclosure. So I thought that'd be especially appropriate for these very dangerous dinosaurs. And I did try to put water and other reasons for the dinosaur to get close to the edge as well, so the visibility is at least occasionally there. But like I said, since we're not doing challenge mode, and this is more of just trying to make a relatively interesting park with all of the dinosaurs, I thought it would be really neat to create that kind of a ride where you don't actually go in the enclosure. And I stuck with the default Indoraptor. It's just the stripe color changes, and I like the orange one. Let's take a look at our raptors. As you can see, not the whole thing is see-throughable, if that's even a word, but you can see into certain sections, and I put water for here to lure them close to the fence, as well as a meat dispenser, and we do have 1 live bait thing for them as well. So here's 3 of them anyway. We've got Charlie. These skins look really good, by the way. I was impressed with how nice they look. And here's Delta in the shade. It's a little harder to see. We'll come back to Delta. Echo is taking a nap, who is also in the shade. And here's Blue. Blue probably looks the best. It might just be because the blue stripe is so much more pronounced than the other features that the Raptors have. I'm curious which one is y'all's favorite. Let's see, you're Delta. I think all 3 of them are fantastic. But for me, it's probably a tie between Blue and... can't remember. I think Echo. Yeah, Blue and Echo are probably my 2 favorite raptors. So as you can see, the placement of the dispenser helps get good views for the guests, but they're still not in the exhibit. And I also thought it was a neat idea to try putting one of these in. I mean, it has its own fence and everything. I could have built another fence around it. I just thought it was different idea, but I'm curious what y'all think of that. And that is this whole area of the island. So as you can, I really like the idea of having the more dangerous dinosaurs kind of isolated in the corner, and building a huge waterfall themed safari exhibit for these guys was really fun as well. This was the second, after I built Polacanthus and Spinosaurus, this was the next thing that I did. And then most recently, we have the last corner of the island, which has, let's just come on over here real quick. We've got 6 hotels on this island, and in case you're wondering why we're not at 5 stars, it's mainly because of capacity and just having so many guests that we don't have enough facilities to make them all happy. So, I mean, I will prove it to you in case you're curious, but our dinosaur rating is extremely high. It's over double the target, so that's why we just have way too many guests here. As far as I know, everything is easily close enough. We just have so many people because of the extremely high dinosaur rating that we need more than 6 hotels, and the hotels that just take up so much room. I thought 6 was more than enough, but I'm sure it doesn't help that I do have paleobotany bonuses for every herbivore, so I'm sure that's working against us, I suppose. But anyway, here we got another Jurassic tour, and our visibility must be less than 55%, huh? That's not fantastic. But, anyway, let's take a quick look at our tour. This one's got Apatosaurus and Dryosaurus. I know Dryosaurus is another DLC dinosaur, but I thought it would go very well with Apatosaurus. I was originally going to stick Stegosaurus in here too, but Stegosaurus has a pretty nitpicky or pretty limited population size, and they're also kind of depicted in the movie as kind of living in their own little herd. So they have their own exhibit right next to this. They are not all put together. Meanwhile, the Dryosaurus and Apatosaurus have very large populations, so I thought they'd go well together. And I've also got here, we've got featured the Rainforest Apatosaurus, which I actually think is the better of the 2 skins that you get from challenge mode, the other one being the Steppe Velociraptor, which I featured in other videos. I think we featured it on Isla Muerta. Kind of has like a dead zombie rotten flesh look to it, as far as that's kind of I'm sure that's a little hyperbole, but that's kind of how I've described it before. I've said before too in other videos, I actually really like the Apatosaurus. It's pretty generic looking, but I just like the Apatosaurus a lot, so... So as you can see, our truck makes a pretty nice loop around, and then we've got a more open area with a little less trees, a little more room for running around for our Dryosauruses. And I think we've got about 8 of them, I think 8 or 9. Very cute little herbivore. Very adorable. I really like the Dryosaurus. And then we head into Stegosaurus's enclosure. We have 6 of them in here. We got a little water source down there. This exhibit is not very big. It's probably, if I were to redo anything, I'd make this slightly larger. I don't think it's cramped by any means, because there's only 6 of them. Like, there's plenty of room. I just think that the trucks just get stuck by them quite often. I've come to, let's see, I think this one's my favorite because I really like the burnt orange red spikes. but this is the woodland one with the more yellowy look, which is probably closest to what's in the Lost World. And then we've got the rainforest, really strange looking blue-green one that I also like a lot. And as far as I'm concerned, the retextured one that's coming out in the Return to Jurassic Park DLC probably looks better. I guess it just depends on what your preferences are, but I like the look of that one more than any of these. But anyway, got a nice little Stegosaurus exhibit. I feel like I may have shafted Stegosaurus a little. I gave Spinosaurus the royal treatment and kind of gave Stegosaurus a bit of a smaller exhibit, so I apologize for that. I really wanted to have this grand, big exhibit with all Dryosaurus, Apatosaurus, and Stegosaurus. And, I mean, I probably could have, but I would have had to heavily modify the Stegosaurus population needs. And then the other problem is if they would have gotten too far from one another, they would have started to stress out and try to break out. So I ended up just giving them their own separate little exhibit. And as you can see, we have this weird little loop-de-loop here because the snapping angle is a little too tight. And now we have one more exhibit with our two Allosaurus, which I had to modify them so that they would be able to live together. This is a very basic exhibit, but I really like the look of it, especially from here with the sunlight heading towards us and everything. I basically put the elevated area with a bunch of trees and a feeder, and then I made a lower area with a nice little water source for them. And then I flooded it with foliage everywhere. And I like this one quite a bit. And it's also nice to see two Allosaurus together instead of just one of them. And I went with the basic and the arid skins. The arid one is particularly nice looking. And the basic one I feel like this one's in between what we see in Fallen Kingdom and then what is at Battle of Big Rock. This one's like in between those two. Probably a little closer to what we see at Battle at Big Rock. Except that one's even more oversized. That gets into the whole Saurophaganax, Allosaurus Maximus thing, which I didn't even know was a thing until fairly recently. That's a pretty interesting topic. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, it's basically the idea that there was a giant version of Allosaurus, and it either was Allosaurus, in which case it was Allosaurus Maximus, or if it was its own unique species, it would be called Saurophaganax, which is a really cool name. So anyway, let's take a quick look at this arid Allosaurus. Probably my favorite Allosaurus skin. And that's all of our exhibits. Here's a quick little aerial look in case you're wondering. I did not connect the monorail from here to the front just because it would have gotten pretty messy, and as far as I know, my transport rating is 100%, so you don't need to make the full loop, you just need to have it connected one way. So anyway, that's Isla Sorna, and that is our last island for our rebuilt Las Cinco Muertes tour. I'm really curious which one is y'all's favorite. Did you have a particular favorite island? This one's up there. I don't know if it's my top favorite. It's top 3 out of the 5 islands though. I think it just all depends on what your preferences are, but this one took me the longest to build, if that has anything to say for it, probably just because it's the largest island. Come to think of it, this is the only large quote-unquote island from the original Las Cinco Muertes, because Isla Nublar is not in the story mode, it's the sandbox. The other islands are either medium or small sized, so... Anyway, with all of that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this rebuilding series. It'll be interesting to see if I need to demolish anything to put my restrooms in. I'm pretty sure in most cases I'll have room, except for Isla Pena. That could probably be a problem. But I'll see y'all when Return to Jurassic Park comes out. So see ya next time.